Now, this idea is very, very prevalent in society right now, but it doesn't hold any water. It's not reality. Now, think about this for a moment, and let me ask you: do you ever get anything in life great 100% of the time by doing no work? And the answer is no, right? And so what this idea fails to implement is the actions and the behaviors that will get you the results that you want. Now, this is a foundation biblical principle, and it is that you reap what you sow. And so to be able to get a awesome crop and a harvest and a abundance of awesome things in your life, what we call results, then you're going to have to sow the seed. And the seed is called work. It's called putting in the effort. It's called fleshing things out. And so to think by your imagination, you can get all these amazing results. And just because you think about it, you'll attract it, or you put it on a piece of paper that it'll somehow come to you. It's just not real faith in reality. It may be half reality, and that is you must conceive it in your mind. You must believe in the possibilities that it could happen. And then you could put it on paper so you begin to see it. But the last part is the action steps of what are you going to do to achieve it. That is the plan. And that is what's missing in modern day stuff today. Then there's another one that says you shouldn't desire anything. And this is kind of the over spiritualization stuff. Comes in form of monks and meditation and withdrawing from society and stuff like that, that you're to empty yourself, that is to empty your mind and think about nothing. I don't know if you've ever tried meditation in a sense, but there's a lot of meditation stuff out there that says you empty your mind and become nothing and become empty. Well, the fact is, if God wanted you to be empty, He would have created you empty. That is with no thoughts and no desires and no nothing, and you would just be empty. You'd be nothing. But the fact of the reality is that we are human and we have these desires. Now, the Bible doesn't condemn desires per se, but it does say that you should desire, seek, and knock if you want something to happen. So the fact that we shouldn't want anything or shouldn't desire anything is actually detrimental to our growth and development, because we're not going to have an awesome marriage. We're not going to have an awesome family life. We're not going to have an awesome business or this dynamic spiritual life or whatever it is if we don't desire it and we don't passionately pursue it. And so what spirituality has come to nowadays is to empty yourself and to have no desires and just sit there and I'm empty, and it's not achieving the results that people are actually looking for. And lastly is education is the solution. But here's the crazy thing about education is that education doesn't mean application. And like I said in the first point is that we have all this wisdom and all this knowledge. We have everything at our fingertips, but life is getting worse and worse. The quality of people's existence is not getting better. And so education itself is not going to improve society, but it's the application. And so these basics and fundamentals are going to get down to the basics so we can begin to apply certain things into our life so we can begin to get the results that we actually want. So these are Jesus' words, and it's Matthew 6:47. You could take a look at that. But he's talking about building a foundation for your life so you don't waver. And he implies certain things that I'm going to share with you that are super, super important. He says, first of all, whoever comes to me and hears my sayings and does them, I'll show you whom he is like. And then he goes on to describe, I don't need to get in detail on here, but you can look it up if you want, that the winds and the storms of life, they come and the house still stands. the house still stands. But on the contrary, he said that there's a man who built his house on the sand, and the winds came and the floods came and the trials of life came, and the house was swept away and destroyed, and great was the ruin of it. So you got these two different lives. There's one life that's built upon the foundation, and there's one life that's built upon the sand. And these two lives have different results. One's producing awesome results. What's the crazy thing about this parable is that the storms of life came upon them both. And no one is exempt from these things. Suffering and pain, they come just because they're part of human existence in our experience. So nobody's exempt from these things. But the difference between the two lives is that one stood and remained, and the other fell and got swept away. So what was the difference between the two lives? It was the foundation. And Jesus talked about the foundation in three aspects. He says, whoever comes to me. And so number one to the foundation is coming to Jesus Christ. And so the one life that stood tall and had the foundation was one who went to Jesus. And the other one was not. And number two, Jesus said this, here's my sayings. So the one life was in contact or in proximity to the Word of God continually and was hearing the ways of righteousness and the way, the truth, and the life. And the other was not. And third, the last and most important ingredient is doeth them. So whoever hears me, whoever comes to me, whoever hears me, and whoever does them, I'll show you who he's like. And so a lot of times application is left out. We have all these theories, all these doctrines, all these belief systems that are nice and fine and dandy, right? And we guard those and we protect those, and a lot of them don't have any practical application. And so it's nice that you have all this correct truth inside your brain, but do you have it in your lifestyle that's begin to make it the change and getting you the positive results that you actually want? You see, in this world today, we don't have a knowledge problem. We have an application problem. And that is putting in the work. So many people stay away from the words of Jesus, and they stay away because they're too challenging. Like the Apostle Paul, most of all his stuff is doctrinal stuff, and that is getting you to believe a certain idea, a certain concept, a certain truth. And then maybe for a couple of chapters, he might go into practical application. But Jesus is very practical, and everything that he says is kind of hard to handle. And so he's saying, if you want the foundation, you're going to have to come to him, you're going to have to listen to him, and you're going to have to do what he says. Now, people don't like that. They're like, I don't want to listen to what Jesus has to say, and I certainly don't want to do what he says. And then that would put you on the category of the life that gets easily swept away because you're not built upon the foundation.